Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's a Monday. I'm telling you, things happening last night, yesterday, globally. That's kind of getting things shook up again that we want to talk about. Right now, I'm dealing with a little bit of a sprinkle. Little thunder boy who just had it. You may hear some in the background, but just before I hit the record button, my goodness, it just shook the area with the thunder. But hey, we're okay. I mean, if it's our time, it's our time. So we're gonna just go with it. Apparently, yesterday, the Ukrainians bombed the Crimean Bridge. Now, this bridge has been struck a few times. You've probably heard about it in the past. They've been able to repair it, but this time they hit it pretty good, it looks like. And it looks like at least one side of the bridge has been destroyed pretty well. I mean, I'm sure it's repairable, but it doesn't appear to be something that they can repair in just a day or so. But I'm no expert. I can't remember the last time I built a bridge, so who knows if I'm correct on that. But it does look like it's been hit pretty severely. And remember, the significance of this, well, there's a lot of things that's significant, but one of the biggest things is that Russia has repeatedly said that if you attack Crimea, you are essentially attacking the motherland of Russia, and that Russia would respond in kind, right? And so they have done some major damage. There's also, and this may play into it bigger than just attacking the bridge. It appears, at least the reports is that a couple of civilians that happened to be traveling on that bridge were killed in this strike. So that may play into it also. Since then, Russia has backed out of the Black Sea grain deal. Now, this is something I've mentioned a couple of times before, but it's been serious, but people thought it was fixed. And so what that is that, of course, as you all know, the Black Sea, that's being controlled a lot by the Russian Navy. That is a huge corridor for the wheat production, for oils, cooking oils, vegetable oils and stuff, which aren't healthy for you, okay? I'll just put that out there. But anyways, it's a big corridor for that, and it helps feed a lot of the world. Maybe not, most of that doesn't come to America, if any of it, but it does feed a lot of the rest of the world. In fact, as most of you know, Russia and Ukraine are major wheat producers and other food producers. And so due to the war efforts on both sides, that has been a very talked about deal is the agreement that the grain shipments can go through, right? So there was a worry about that in the beginning of the war, that it would cause a major disruption of food supplies, that it could cause problems all over the world and create shortages. And so there was an agreement between Russia and NATO and Ukraine and the rest of the world that Russia would allow the grain shipments, that they would not interfere with that as long as it did not cause a risk for Russia. And so the grain deal that they had originally signed comes up, there's another one, comes up to expire, and I believe expires today, in fact. So the last couple of weeks, it's been concerned that Russia would not renew the grain deal and continue to allow grain to go through. And so a few days back, it was announced that Russia did renegotiate with them and agree to continue the grain deal. Well, last night, our time last night, after this bridge was destroyed or blown up, Russia said, nope, we're done. We're out of the grain deal. We're backing out. Now, will they renegotiate it? Possibly. Who knows? But for right now, they've backed out of it, and overnight, grain prices went up something like 4.5% or so. So they're already seeing some immediate repercussions. This could cause havoc in a lot of the developing world like in Africa and India and places like that, in the Middle East, where they depend heavily on the grain that comes out of those areas. So there's that. There's Ukraine attacking a major piece of infrastructure in Crimea that Russia has repeatedly said, you better stop, because this is going to escalate things even worse. It'll be interesting to see if they find out what pieces of weapons. I mean, it would almost, at this point, from everything I have seen and read, I don't even know if Ukraine has much of any more, weaponry that's not from the West. Like, they've pretty much used up all of their bombs and their artillery and things like that. So it would almost be assumed at this point that it was probably something that they picked up from some other country, the United States, Germany, United Kingdom, that they've sent to them. So, and that could change things also. If they find out that, hey, this was hit by an American missile or something like that. This also, it's not the only way to get into Ukraine, but it is a major thoroughfare to get into Ukraine. So, into Crimea, sorry. So this is going to very likely escalate things. I've thought about this over and over again of the, and again, I'm not pro-Russian. I'm not pro-Ukrainian either. I think this is ridiculous. I do think that this is all being done for a purpose. But I've thought off and on of why has Putin especially been so patient. There has been several things that's happened. The Nord Stream pipeline, the dam explosion, this bridge a few times. There's been, incursions into Russia. Russia has more than enough to say, all right, we're just going to escalate this thing even further. We're going to do some pretty heavy damage. And they haven't so far. Makes me wonder that there's not a greater plan going on. Is Russia playing a part to drag this out long enough so that the West is using a lot of its munitions on this, and that China has the ability to ramp up its production and its military readiness? Does the West know this? And is the West trying to provocate and push Russia to do something quicker than expected, to escalate the war faster, so that it cuts off the time period that China might have to be part of this, that it causes things to move along faster? Because it's possible that Russia and China are wanting to this whole process of this war to kind of take a slower approach, to kind of drag things out. Russia is notorious and actually quite good at it for conducting very long, extended wars. America, think back to the war in Iraq and things like that, where they, this move in fast, and almost like a blitzkrieg, move in and with shock and awe, and to do it overnight, just to destroy it and to end the war in just a few days. Russia takes a very different approach if you look at them historically. Most of all the wars they've been in, they last for years and years, sometimes even decades. And it doesn't seem to bother them. They like to kind of drag it out and to wear their enemy down, even at the cost of their own troops, their own weapons. They know that if on the long term that they can win if they do it that way. And so it's very possible that that's the game plan right now, is to drag this out, to kind of slow it down and drag this out, and it potentially to give China, an advantage of getting themselves ready. And maybe the West knows that. And maybe the West is trying to push this war along a little faster because it's a disadvantage for Russia and China. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but it does seem like that is a strong possibility, because it makes me wonder why Russia has not responded in kind like you would think it would. There's been many other things. A lot of the tanks and the airplanes and the bombs and the missiles and stuff that the West has been sending over. Russia really isn't responding in the way that you would expect Russia to respond. Of course, it could also be that Russia just doesn't have the capabilities that a lot of people think they do. I doubt that that's the case, but I would, at least consider that. The thing is that this today or this yesterday, the bombing of this bridge and then the cutting off of the wheat supply, could be very detrimental. You've got to understand that the United States right now is dealing with horrible wheat harvest. I've talked to many folks in Kansas and in Nebraska and in other places in the United States that the wheat harvest is absolutely abysmal. And so you take that major wheat producer and then you cut off the supply of the wheat in the bread basket of the world, which is set to harvest here in just a few weeks, I believe. You could cause some very major disruption in food supplies across the world, along with an escalation potentially in the war with Ukraine and Russia. So I think that this is considered probably a pretty major deal. Now, we've had things like this happen that appear to be a major deal, and then they're not. So maybe that's just another one of these. I would guess at this rate, it's probably the highest chance of that being the case, that it's not as major as what people think. But it does have the potential to be something that could majorly escalate. And my gut feeling is that the fact that some civilians were killed in it, I mean, it's not like they're the first civilians to die in this war, but I think that Russia could use that. You know, they're not just striking targets, they're actually killing civilians, which both sides have already killed civilians. I know, I get that. But this, you know, it's the look on it publicly, that they could say, hey, they're striking our bridges and they're taking out civilians, innocent civilians. So that may be a bigger deal than just the bridge being hit. Time will only tell, you know. Who knows? Over the next few days, nothing may happen. Something big may happen. There's a lot of things happening. Actually, there was a big train derailment, I believe, up in Pennsylvania. They've got a level 2 hazmat situation going on because there's stuff leaking out of it. There's lots of flooding all over the United States, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, some really major flooding going on. Of course, the wildfires up in Canada, still just, you know, millions and millions of acres are being burned. Looks like today could be a big day for solar flares or just solar activity. There's been warnings on that. Russian scientists are warning that looks like the sun is about to start getting even more active. Of course, we've had a lot of earthquakes all over the place. If you've noticed that, some very major earthquakes. So there's a lot of activity right now on the planet. Is it just another cycle that we're going through, or is this about ready to lead us into something very serious? It's hard to tell. I will tell you this, that you need to be getting ready. I've spoken to just people, and there's a lot of people that think that it's getting to that point. Through a friend, was talking to someone that is, I can't really tell you. He's in the military, and you know, one of those more secretive units in the military, you know, special operations type guy. And he said that a lot of his buddies, a lot of the guys that he knows that's recently gotten out, that they're planning on leaving the United States. He said that they feel that the collapse is going to be, that's their plan, is to literally bug out of the United States, because all the stuff that they're looking at and all the intel that they've gotten because of their connections is that the collapse in the United States is going to be far worse than most people realize, and they said they're just leaving. Now, that may all be nothing. Who knows? I mean, it comes from a solid source, but you know, just because some ex-special operations level guy says it doesn't mean it's true. The point is, though, is that there is a lot of people that's a little concerned, that's seeing kind of the handwriting on the wall, that things are moving in a very bad direction for this country. And so you need to start getting ready seriously. I mean, I would hope that you already have been. But you need to be kind of ramping it up and taking it serious, and getting yourself ready. Folks, right now, it's the time to get your houses in order, prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.